right, everybody, what's going on? And welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk. This is the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. And I'm your tour guide around the SWAC. See what else coming at you. And today we are starting our SWAC previews, man. Our 2024 SWAC previews. We're gonna start off with the Bulldogs of Alabama A&M. And we're gonna do all 12 teams, just like we've been doing every other season. So y'all make sure y'all hit those socials. Facebook is SWAC Talk, Instagram is SWAC Talk, Twitter SWAC Talk 76. Like the video, comment, and share. And feel free to hit that subscribe button, man, so you can be a member of the channel, man. You can be a part of the SWAC Talk fam, and you can rock with us and get some more of these. And like I said, I have the entire schedule of previews up on my socials, so you can make sure you check those out. I'm aiming for every Wednesday and Sunday to drop these. Of course, Tuesday gonna do a live reaction to media day. That probably be sometime Tuesday night, and Monday, Tuesday, gonna hopefully drop a NCAA 25, college football 25, whatever you want to call it, kind of review, as we play the game. So y'all keep it locked here with us. My gamer tag, if you are on Xbox, is C Wells SWAC. That's all one word. C Wells SWAC, all one word. Hit me up, and we can get it in. So let's go ahead and jump into this, man. We're not going to waste any more time on the housekeeping details. We'll start off, like I said, this is the first of 12. So we're going to start off talking about the Alabama A&M Bulldogs. And they finished last season with a record of 5-6, 3-5 in conference. So not a bad overall record, conference record. Obviously left something to be desired. This coming into this season, a lot of people feel like Coach Maynor is on the hot seat. This is a big season for him. Hadn't really done a lot after that SWAC championship in the spring of 21. Had a pretty good 22. Had a pretty good fall of 21 season. Came up short, and hadn't really had a lot of success since then. There's been a lot of ups and downs with this team. Offensively, they've been pretty good, honestly. At least numerically, the last couple years, they just haven't really been that great on defense, and that's been their issue. Looking at where this team fell last season, statistically, they had a pretty explosive offense. Ultimately, finished the season second in scoring offense at 29.6 points per game. Scoring defense, they ranked 8th at 27.4. So they scored a lot of points, but they gave up a lot of points. Total offense, they were 3rd at 374 yards per game, averaged 5.5 yards per play. Defensively, they were 6th at 346 yards per game, averaged 5.5 per play for the opponents. Their rushing offense averaged 153 yards per game, 4.2 yards per carry, with 22 touchdowns. Defensively, they were 6th at 142 yards per game, 3.9 yards per carry. They allowed 19 touchdowns. The passing offense was 3rd in the league at 221 yards per game, averaged 6.9 yards per attempt, 19 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. Those 13 interceptions were the most in the league. That's one of the issues that this team has. Passing defense, they finished 8th at 204 yards per game, 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Those 11 interceptions, put them in a tie for 4th place, I believe. And like I said, their defense did a really good job last season of forcing turnovers. They just turned the ball over quite a bit. They finished tied for fifth place in interceptions. They registered 21 sacks as a defense. That was ninth place. They allowed 21 sacks as well as offense, and that's fifth in the league. Third down conversion rate. They led the league as an offense with 40% on third downs. Defensively, they were sixth at 35.8%. Fourth downs offense, they were ninth at 40% as well. And fourth down defense, they were second at 23.5%. So they did a pretty decent job of getting stops as a defense. Just kind of, they couldn't be consistent. But like I said, they did a good job with forcing turnovers, which was an improvement last season. Last season, they were -6 in the turnover margin. This season, they finished +2. They forced 26 turnovers, but they turned it over 24 times. That's the second straight year that they've turned the ball over 24 times. So that's probably the one biggest issue that I see about this team is they have to be able to take care of the football. If they can do that with the offense that they have, I think that can help their defense. Your defense got to keep coming back on the field after turnovers. It doesn't really matter what you do offensively if the defense is steady giving up points. So you're honestly coming back on the field, trying to make up points that you're probably giving up. So they kind of find themselves playing that tug of war offensively, trying to keep pace. And they've done a decent job, but not good enough. That kind of offense and defense is good against teams that are even with you or not as good as you. You can't play against good teams like that. So you have to be able to elevate to give yourself an opportunity to win against better teams. And the only way you're going to make it to the next level is to beat the teams that are in front of you in conference play. Some of the names to look out for that are returning this season, obviously Donovan Eaglin is the name to look at. Man, he's one of, if he's not the best, he's one of the best running backs in the league. I think he can have 1,000-yard season this season if he stays healthy. Last season he kind of got banged up early and they kind of held him out of a game or two, but he still finished the season with 765 yards, averaged 5.4 yards per carry with 7 touchdowns, averaged 76.5 yards per game, carried the ball 142 times. So he's a guy that can run the ball really well. Ryan Morrow is another guy that can carry the ball for them. That's a nice 1-2 punch. And like I said, when you put that with the receiving core that they have coming back, that makes for a really solid offense. Morrow had 436 yards and 6 touchdowns on the season. They really just, they really move the ball well on the ground. And, when they go to the air, they have some weapons there as well. Jacoby Hewitt, he led the team with 516 yards and 4 touchdowns. Also, Keenan Hambrick, who was the third leading receiver, is coming back with 377 yards and 2 touchdowns. You're looking at them adding guys like Duke Miller, who came from Jackson State, and A.J. Toney, who came from Middle Tennessee State, to their receiving core. So there are some guys that can be some playmakers. There are some guys that can be possession-type guys. And like I said, when you can run the ball like they can, that takes a lot of pressure off of your offense. Xavier Langford is a guy who can run the ball as well. He was the third leading rusher on the team as the quarterback with 264 yards on the season and 6 touchdowns. He also completed 56% of his passes for 904 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. But they have another name that's entering into the mix in the quarterback position. They lost Quincy Casey, but they get Avion Smith, who transferred from Miami University. He started quite a bit of the time in 2022. He started, I think he started 9 games then, and he threw for 1,299 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. He also ran for 553 yards and 6 touchdowns. He started 5 games last season. He won the Offensive Player of the Game in Miami's MAC championship victory against Toledo. where he had 208 all-purpose yards in that game. So that's gonna be a very interesting battle. Langford, he's a guy who's kind of been around. He's had those good games, he's had some bad games. But you're bringing in another guy who is a FBS guy who started 14 games in the last 2 years, so he has starting experience. He's won, and so that's gonna make this a very interesting battle. I think whoever comes out of this is gonna have, like I said, is gonna have those solid weapons on offense. You're only losing a couple guys off the O line. You're bringing back the majority of the second unit on the offensive line, so that makes for a nice continuity. And so I think this offense is going to be one of the top offenses in the league. With a lot of turnover all over the conference, this is one of the few offenses that has a lot of continuity coming back, and I think that's going to help them. But the problem for them as a team is going to continue to be defense. They losing Zarian Hayes, who was a big part of their D line. They're losing Jordan Mitchell as well. Marvin Smith is the leader in returning tackler with 62 tackles. Jamarion Ellis leads the team with 6 tackles for loss returning and 2.5 sacks. And Caleb Dawson has 3 interceptions coming back as well. And like I said, they had 11 interceptions as a team last season, so they did a pretty good job of forcing those turnovers. But the key, like I said, the key to me is, are they going to be able to make some things happen? And Murray Pate also comes back. He helped combine for 7 of those 11 interceptions that the team had last season. They're only losing 1 starter in the secondary. Like I said, their biggest holes to fill are linebacker. They lose Mitchell and Xavier Billingsley, 2 of the top 3 tacklers on the team. Also, like I said, you're losing Zarian Hayes, who had 10.5 tackles for loss on the season. Him and Mitchell were the top 2 guys in sacks, so you're losing that. But they've been active in the portal the last couple of years, so you got to kind of figure at some point some of these guys who they're bringing in are gonna have to cash in for them, because I think the more you continue to dive into the portal, at some point you have to cash in, or else you're gonna crash out. And right now they are on that middle portion. Don't know which way you're gonna go, especially defensively. Special teams, the kicking game should be pretty solid. They're returning their leading punter, Austin McCready, who averaged 43.6 yards per punt last season, with a longer 65 at 12 punts inside the 20 and 13 50-plus yard punts. And you also returning Victor Barbosa, who was the leading field goal kicker last season, 6 of 9 on field goals with a longer 37, 39 of 40 on extra points for a total of 57 points. A&M doesn't really kick a lot of long field goals, so once they get inside that 40-yard range, that's when they start to look to kick if they stall out. So you're not necessarily looking at a guy who's going to kick a lot of 40-plus yard field goals. Like I said, as long as it's 37, so they're not really going to kick a lot of field goals from 40-plus. They're just not really wired that way. McCready also had 2 kickoffs on the season for average 57 yards. They did lose their kickoff guy, Luke Moffitt. He went in the transfer portal, so that's a spot that's gonna be filled most likely by McCready. And the return game, you're looking to fill some holes there. You don't really have anybody really spectacular in terms of statistically from last season, so they're gonna fill those holes. And like I said, I think this team can be. This is a definition of a wild card team to me. They can go a multitude of ways. They can finish almost anywhere. Anywhere from like 3rd to 5th. Like I said, we're gonna run through the schedule, but I think that this is a team that they have some tough games, and not a lot of wiggle room in terms of toss-up games. But we'll run through the schedule now. Honestly, like I said, there's a lot to be looked at. So let's take a look at their schedule. They open up their season at Auburn. That game is on August 31st. That's the first game of the season. It's a Power Five, Power Four team, whatever you want to call it, SEC team. You just kind of want them to come out and show a few things. You don't really need to go balls to the wall. Just come out and play and see what happens. But I'm marking that one as an L. Then you get two sub D1 games back to back. September 7th is Kentucky State. That's a Lewis Cruz Classic. And then September 14th, you get Georgetown College out of Kentucky, I believe. You have to win those two games. Like I said, last season they had two D2 games. This season is a D2, and I don't know what Kentucky is. I think the NAIA. Georgetown College, I think the NAIA, maybe D2, I don't know. But those are two games that you have to win. So, you put them down for 2 wins there. And then you go into that Austin Peay game on the 21st of September at 2-1. And right now, I think that's going to be a tough matchup for the Bulldogs. But I think they can compete in that game. But I'm going to go with Austin Peay right now. That'll put them at 2-2. And then they open up conference play with back-to-back tough games to open up conference play at Florida A&M on the 28th, and then against Jackson State in the Gulf Coast Challenge on October 5th. They're going to be underdogs going into both of these games. I don't know how big they'll be underdogs because, like I said, we still have a lot to learn about FAMU, especially. I think JSU offensively is going to be really good. We've got to see what the defense is going to be. But these are going to be two games that, on paper, their offense should be okay, but defensively, where they're going to stand, they played FAMU tough since these two teams have been SWAC opponents, but they haven't really been able to get wins there. JSU jumped on them big early last season and kind of held them off, but I don't know how much that's gonna impact this game, but I think they're gonna drop both of those games. We'll get to how I feel about moving wins and losses around once we get after this, but I think they'll come out of those two games with L's and going into homecoming against Bethune-Cookman the following week on the 12th of October. I think they win this game. Right now, Bethune-Cookman is getting a lot of attention, a lot of hype because they brought in a ton of guys, but we don't really know exactly where this team is, who they are and what they are. So you kind of have to, kind of feel your way around because we don't really know what this Bethune-Cookman is. And when you're sitting here in July, you got to kind of go with the team you kind of got a better feel for. And I think A&M is going to want to try to get some get back from last season. They got ambushed by Bethune-Cookman last season, just got toe up on the ground. And I think that they'll get a win there. Next, after their traditional bye week before the Magic City Classic, they get the Magic City Classic against Alabama State. That's on October 26th. This is an interesting game. Bama State's another team who is going to be garnering a lot of attention. But Bama State defensively, I think, is still going to be pretty good. I think they are. I think their defense may not be as great as they were the year before, but I don't think it's going to be a big drop off. So I think the defense is going to help them a lot in this game. Offensively, you're getting Andrew Body, and you're bringing in a lot of transfer guys. So the offense still has some things to prove. But I think Bama State wins this game basically by hook or by crook. This is a matchup that you don't always get the better team winning. Sometimes there's a lot of screwy things that happens in this game, in this matchup. And so I think that you're going to find yourself maybe with one of those games that's closer than it may look. But this is a make or break game. This game can honestly shift their season. Speaking of Bulldogs, especially, this game can really shift their season. It can turn a bad start into a great finish. They lose this game, I don't know if Maynor gets fired, that soon. But I think if they lose this game, there's going to be more eyes on what's going on, and the seat is going to heat up. But I do think Bama State wins this game, and that sends them into November, which is going to be a month that they should finish pretty strong. They have a chance of winning every game in the month of November, starting with Southern. I think, if their offense is playing the way that it's capable and that defense is playing better, I think they win this game. Because, right now we don't really know what Southern is. Southern has a lot of questions on the O-line. They're going to have by this point, whoever's the quarterback is going to be to play the bulk of the season. But right now, sitting here, you have a new quarterback. You have some holes to fill in the secondary. Your front seven is pretty decent. You have some good guys there. You have a few guys who filling in well there, but there's a lot of questions for Southern. So I think this is a very winnable game for A&M. I think they can win it, and then that sends them into Pine Bluff. That's a road game for them at Pine Bluff on November 9th. Pine Bluff gave them a battle last season before they kind of ran out of gas toward the end. I don't know. Pine Bluff's another team. I don't know right now. I don't know where they are. They brought in a lot of dudes. They finished the season with a nice win. Can they carry the momentum into the season? Who knows where they'll be by this point in the year? But I think A&M gets them there. November 14th was a Thursday night. They host Grambling. They beat Grambling pretty soundly in Grambling last year. I think they can beat Grambling again. This is going to be the theme of these previews for a lot of teams. We don't really know where a lot of these teams are. Grambling losing their top two rushers, losing pretty much one of their top wide receiver, losing some great guys on defense, new coaching staff, new offensive system. There's a lot to be done and filled at Grambling, and again, where would it be in November? Who knows? But I think A&M can win this game as well, and then that sends them to Valley to close out the season on the 23rd of November. This is always one of those games that if you're not careful, you can drop it. They did. They lost to Valley a couple years ago at the end of the season. This is one of those games where if you're not really locked in, let's say you coming in, off of a tough loss and your season is basically over, Valley is probably going to catch you. If you're not 100% locked in going into Itta Bena, you're probably going to get caught. But I think they win this game. And basically, I think they finished the season at 6-6. 4-4 in conference. Again, last season I picked them to finish 6-5 and 4-4, and they finished 5-6 and 3-5. So I think they're gonna be right there in that mix. They can be, a third place team, a fourth place team. If something goes wrong, maybe fifth. But I think they right in that middle. I don't know if they have enough to climb higher than that because they have some very tough games ahead of them. But I think their ceiling is 7-5. Anything more than that is going to require winning some games that right now I think they're going to be underdogs in. I have them as basically pretty solid underdogs against Auburn, Austin Peay, FAMU, and Jackson State, with Bama State there as well. That's 5 games that I have them as underdogs in. So they will have to win at least one of those games to finish 8-4. And, it's not impossible, but right now I don't see it right now. But I think their ceiling is 7-5, and I think their floor is 4-8. That is kind of flipping a couple toss-up games, because I think the Grambling game is a toss-up. I think Southern game is a toss-up. That's pretty much it when you look at conference play, toss-up games. I think, like I say, I think Bethune-Cookman is. I think they'll be favored in that game. They'll be a favorite against Valley. They'll be a favorite against Pine Bluff. So that's 3 games that you're favored in conference play. You have 3 games in conference play that you're underdog in, and then there's 2 toss-ups. So that's a pretty even schedule. So you win both of those games against Southern and Grambling. You finish 5-3 in conference. You put that with those 2 non D1 games, that puts you at 7-5. If you lose, let's say you lose Southern and Grambling, that puts you at 3-5, and that puts you at 5-7. So I think you would have to probably lose 6 conference games to finish at 4-8. So that's dropping a game like Bethune-Cookman or Pine Bluff or even a Lake Valley game. But right now, I think this is a team who is kind of average in terms of record-wise. I don't know if that's enough to save a coach's job who's on the hot seat. I don't really know how hot that seat is right now. I don't know if that's just speculation from a lot of us, or there's really a lot of heat on him. But right now, I don't know if that's enough to get them over the hump. Because I think the gap between the top 3 teams in the division and the rest of the 3 teams in the division is I think it's a little bit bigger than maybe it's been in previous years, because usually it's been like the top 2 and then everybody else. The top 3 are kind of bunched up. The bottom 3, middle 3, whatever you call it, are kind of bunched up. So I think they're kind of locked into that 4th place spot, and I think that's where they're going to finish. So I do think, like I said, they finished 500, 6-6, 4-4 in conference. Is that enough to save Maynor's job? I can't say, but I think that's where they stand. So that's our first preview. We're gonna try to bring you our Bama State preview on Wednesday. Like I said, we loaded this week, man. We got media day recap coming Tuesday night. Gonna try to drop a college football 25 preview at some point during the week. So we got SWAC Smoke on Thursday, and then like I said, I'm gonna try to do that Bama State preview on Wednesday. So, and then Sunday will be Alcorn. So like I said, we're gonna do these on Sundays and Wednesdays, and like I said, you can check out the socials. I have the schedule. I have the schedule on my Twitter page, which is Swag Talk 76. It's a pinned tweet, so you'll see it all the time. Just keep checking in, and these are gonna lead up to week 0. And we'll have our week 0 preview, which is the MEAC Swag Challenge. We'll have that preview the week of the game. So with that being said, man, I'm your tour guide around the Swag. See where I sign it out, and I'm gonna catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.